Hello everybody, SSA here aka SuperSunaArashi, giving you my Pokemon experience for the 20th anniversary of Pokemon. Now I wanted to make this video last week when the actual birthday of Pokemon was celebrated, but I didn't have the time to actually make the video, so now I have time and I'm making this video. So my very first experience of Pokemon, well, I'm living in the Netherlands, which is in Europe. And Europe was the last one to actually get to experience Pokemon as a whole. It first came out in Japan, I think, then North America came a few years after that, and then Europe. So I remembering that Pokemon got on the Dutch television, and I didn't start watching it from the very beginning because, you know, back in the day I was like a 9-10 years old child. So, you know, I didn't knew what was on television or what time back then. I was a really messed up kid. But I do know that one day, you know, before I had to go to school, I put on the television and Pokemon was on. And it was like, I think it was the episode with Ghastly Haunter and Gengar, the Pokemon Tower episode, or the episode with Sabrina. Either way, Haunter was one of the Pokemon that was in the episode. That was still a thing I do remember. And I was thinking like, how could I have missed this out? This is very fun to watch. I love this. This is amazing. So, you know, I started watching the series, and sooner or later, I think a few kids on my school already know because they already had the game or the cards. But sooner or later, you know, I also wanted to have that things, the cards, the games. So the first thing I got from my dad, I think, was a Pokemon booster pack, which I of course was very happy. Or maybe it was like I wanted something from Pokemon and my dad was like, well, we don't have a lot of money right now, so you can have some cards. I don't really know how that went, but I do know that before I've got the games, I've got some cards to collect. So I've got my very first booster pack, I opened it up, and the very first card I took out of the booster pack was a coughing card. And that is one of the cards that if I see that card, I always get that feeling of, you know, my childhood back in the day, experiencing my very first, you know, my very first experience with Pokemon in general. We had the series that came on the television and then the cards. And of course after that the game followed. I really wanted the game, and we didn't have a lot of money back in the days. Internet, we didn't have internet. It was 1999, I think. Most rich kids or most rich people had internet. We didn't. So it was very, you know, it was a very hard time because a year before that, one of my third brother was born. So we were with 3 children, 2 parents. It was in a very small house. So, you know, money wasn't really a thing back then. But eventually I've got Pokemon Red. I don't know if I saved up money for myself or I asked my dad, and my dad was like, "Now, well, you know what? Here is the game." But no Christmas presents or something like that. But then I've got Pokemon Red and I began to play it. Now I was a little kid back then, not a smart kid to be honest. We didn't have internet, as I said, so I played the game, I picked Bulbasaur, I played the rival battle, I came in Viridian City, and I was stuck there for quite a while because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know you had to go into the Pokemon Mart and get the parcel from Professor Oak. So brainless me was running around in Viridian City, don't know what to do, and eventually I entered the Pokemon Mart and I was like, oh, I had to do this. Small note, Pokemon was one of the main reasons I've learned English for a great while, because nowadays TV shows, cartoons, they are all Dutch dubbed, but back in the day, you know, series like Spider-Man, Pokemon was Dutch dubbed, but a lot of shows on the Dutch television were English original, you know, voices with Dutch subtitles. So back in the day, I've learned a lot of English watching television but also playing Pokemon, because Pokemon is in English. So I've discovered that a few words in English from the game means that in the Dutch language, and therefore Pokemon also helped me a lot learning the English language and improving my English language back in the day. But yeah, that was my very first Pokemon experience. Eventually, you know, I played Pokemon Red. Of course, I began to know about the glitches because of children at my school. But that was a very, very fun experience, to be honest. I mean, I don't know my team. I did know that I had a Venusaur, but the rest of my team I really don't know, to be honest. That was a very long time ago. I do know that I still have my Pokemon Red cartridge at my grandma's place. One of my brothers is sometimes playing on that right now. Same goes for the Pokemon Yellow cartridge I have at my grandma's place. But yeah, those were, you know, the very first generation Pokemon games I had. I bought Pokemon Yellow a few years later because everybody was like, oh my god, Pikachu is following you, I have to have that game, and I bought it as well. But yeah, that was my very first Pokemon experience. A few years later, I was at another school. Yeah, I think I was at, I was at the same school, I think. And some of the children at my school, they found a way to get hold on the Japanese Pokemon Gold and Silver versions on the computer. We did have internet on our school though. So they found an emulator, I think, with Pokemon Gold and Silver, the Japanese versions. And I know back in the day I was looking at them playing that game and I was like, wow, what kind of Pokemon is that? Sandthread. I didn't know what that Pokemon was. And the Root, and Cyndaquil, and Chikorita, and Totodile, and I was, what is this? Back then I didn't know that those were the names, but I was like, wow, that Leafmon, oh wow, that Gator type Mon, oh wow, what is that thing with fire on his back? I was very amazed, and I thought, I didn't know if it was real, I didn't know if it was fake, but what do you know? A few years later, Pokemon Gold and Silver came out, and I was like, oh my god, a new Pokemon game. And back then, Pokemon movie was out as well, the very first Pokemon movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, which was an amazing experience to actually watch a movie of Pokemon. They did, play it in cinemas back then, but as I said, money was not a real thing back then for us, so we didn't have the opportunity to go to the cinemas. But I got a VGS, tape of the Pokemon movie, watched that with my brothers, and we were amazed, of course. But yeah, after that Pokemon Gold and Silver came out, and that was, the period that I turned into a real Pokemon geek / nerd / whatever. Because I knew that I've got Pokemon Gold, my brother got Pokemon Silver, we were playing those games, but my brother and I were like, I was like, I really like Lugia more than Ho-Oh, and my brother was like, yeah, I really like Ho-Oh more than Lugia. So we switched games. I gave my Gold cartridge to my brother, and my brother gave Silver to me. We didn't got far in the games back then, so we resetted the games, played over. So I played with, I didn't know, maybe I started with Chikorita or Cyndaquil, one of those two. I think it was Chikorita because I wanted to start off with another Grassmon. I didn't think the Johto series were on TV. I think they were having reruns of Pokemon, the Kanto anime. So I don't know. I didn't think the Johto series. I think the Johto series came a year after the game came out. Back in the day, because internet wasn't that big, you didn't know what Pokemon had. So all the new Pokemon in Silver were, new for me. And just like the gym leads, everything was new. And as I said, that was the start that I really became into Pokemon. I do remember that I played the game everywhere, at my grandma's house, at school. I remember that one day, because I was in school, I was playing Pokemon, and all the younger kids at my school, because I was like, how old was I? 13 years old maybe, and they were like 9 years old, a few classes back. So I was, a few years later. My brother was on the same school as me, so he was also, 9 years old when that game came out, and in the same class. And I knew the puzzles in Pokemon Silver, the puzzles with Omanite and with Kabuto and with Aerodactyl. I, quickly solved that puzzle. It was like click, 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 prep, solved. But the class, the fellow school children who were a class back, from my brother's age, they couldn't figure out the puzzle. So when they had their break, and they were younger, so they have more breaks, they would come in my class, they would knock on the door, they would ask the teacher, we need some help with something, can we, ask Gerard, because he knows the answers. So I leave class and I helped all those children who were, 4 years younger than me, helping solve those puzzles. And they were all like, wow, you're amazing. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know I am. It was a really fun experience. And back in home, me and my brother played Pokemon Silver and Gold, and for example, it was Saturday morning. We wake up on 6-7 o'clock in the morning and we were like, yo, and I was like, yeah, what's up? It's Saturday. The bug catching contest is right now. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to catch that Pinsir Scyther right now. And we were, waking up immediately, go to Goldenrod City, playing the bug catching contest. And that, oh my god, those childhood memories back then. And I do remember that I finally, finished the Elite Four in Pokemon Silver. And I was like, well, I've ended the game. And then you could go travel back to Kanto and my mind was blown away. I was like, wow, I was like, whoa, this is the region of Pokemon Red and Blue and I'm back right now. And I was like, whoa. And it really, changed Pokemon for me, because Pokemon Red and Blue, I was like, it was fun, it was great, the anime series were amazing, but Pokemon Silver actually blew my mind away about what Pokemon was. Back then I didn't have a favorite Pokemon, to be honest. Sandslash, I really liked Sandshrew and Sandslash, but they were not, fan favorites of mine back in the day. I really didn't have fan favorites except for the starters, but that was Sandshrew eventually grew me, because you could catch them in almost every game and they were really fun to use sometimes. But yeah, Pokemon Silver was, the game that really started everything for me. I was really, then it was like, we've got, I don't know the English words, I think it was pucks or pops, but back then we have ships, you could have that round, chips with Pokemon emblems on them. You can, collect them and have them in a nice map. It was really a fun experience when Pokemon Silver came out, and eventually the series came out, which is, in my opinion, the best anime series Pokemon has ever brought. Johto was the region that, eventually made me love Pokemon how it is, and I still have the same Silver. I've eventually, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out for the DS, and I've got a DS and my Game Boy Advance. I gave them away with the Pokemon with the Pokemon Red and Pokemon Silver and yeah, Pokemon Yellow to my other brother, who was born in 1998, so he didn't got the Pokemon experience we've got back then. So I gave them away, so they can play and have the same experience as me. But one day my brother was like, was last year, my brother was like, do you want to have your Pokemon Silver cartridge back, because the battery in there is messed up and you can't save anymore. So the cartridge is basically useless right now. I know you can try to fix it and play it again, but my brother was like, it was your game, so here it is. He still plays Pokemon Red and Yellow sometimes, and those cartridges are not, messed up. So he was like, do you want your Silver back? And I was like, sure, I want my Silver back. So here I have my Pokemon Silver. You can see it's a bit weird out during the years, but this is, in my opinion, the best Pokemon game they ever made. I don't know if Pokemon Sun and Moon will ever fill, you know, it's mostly based on childhood, of course. I'm very excited for Pokemon Sun and Moon. I really hope they're going to do a lot in that game Pokemon Silver did, based on what they did for Pokemon. Because Pokemon Silver, in my opinion, Pokemon Gold, Silver, second gen, for my opinion, is the changes they made in that game, the day and night feature, what Heart Gold and Soul Silver did right was the Pokemon follow you. So basically, you know, Pokemon Silver and Gold and Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they both did things that were so amazing for Pokemon and pleased the fans that much that Johto region will forever be my favorite region and be the region that made Pokemon, that made me love Pokemon I am now. And seeing this cartridge actually, you know, it really shakes my hand because all the flashbacks of when I was a child comes back at me, and that is very, very nice to have. Sometimes, you know, having those memories from a child you can't get back. They, you know, they actually make, and that is the reason I think a lot of people like Pokemon, because whenever you grow up in Region 1, in Region 2, if you started in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, if you started with Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which can also be the case, eventually all those games, they make memories, and all these memories, whether the game is busted, whether the game you lost the game, whether, you know, you don't have time to play the games anymore, you will always have the memories you had as a child when you played those games. And that's why, you know, Pokemon has meant so much for me. Not only for me as a person, but for me as, you know, I have a YouTube channel now, mostly based on Pokemon stuff. To actually believe that a small game like that in 1996, or for me a few years later, could have such an impact on all of those people playing those games right now in the world. And as I said, some of them started off at generation 3 or 4, but to have such an impact and to, you know, combine all of those people from all over the world in having such a great community playing those games. I think that is what Pokemon makes great. And I think that in 20 years from now, Pokemon will celebrate their 40th anniversary, in 30 years their 50th anniversary, and all of those people that played those games 50 years ago will still have the same feeling. Yeah, and that is, in my opinion, what makes Pokemon great, and is what my personal experience of Pokemon from like 18-20 years ago makes so great. I'm really shaking giving that speech right there. It was really, I hadn't, you know, planned to do that speech, but it came into me and I just had to say that. And yeah, so, you know, that was mostly my experience with Pokemon at the beginning, of course, how it all started. Leave down in the comments section what your first experience was with Pokemon, what your favorite moment in Pokemon was. Leave down in the comment section what your favorite Pokemon was. Just burst out your personal experience in Pokemon, your favorite. So my camera decided to stop playing. So yeah, I was busy doing my outro right now, and the camera decided fuck no, you're not getting your outro. So yeah, what I wanted to say was leave down in the comment section below your personal experience of Pokemon. You can leave a like, you can share this video with others, slash the subscribe button to help this channel. I would really appreciate that. If you don't subscribe to me, that's fine by me. Just watching this video was, you know, fine enough. But with that, I'm now actually going to do a proper outro because that wasn't supposed to happen. So thank you so much for watching this, and let's hope you will have another 20 years of Pokemon. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye bye!